Hi guys, so I thought this year I would sit down and make a video on some ornaments that my kids and I made at Christmas. I'm just showing you generally right here the supplies that I use, some watercolor pencils, some Mod Podge, wooden rounds that I purchased from Amazon, and put a more complete list in the description box. But basically what you do is the ones I got from Amazon were pre-sanded, so I just sealed them with a little Mod Podge. I had previously gotten some from Michael's, and they were not sanded, so I was not able to stamp with rubber stamps on them until I sanded them and sealed them completely. So I ended up putting 2 coats of Mod Podge on all of the wooden ornaments. We also had some, they're not really ceramic, they have more of like a I don't know, like Luan coverage over them, and they're really good for stamping. They're not wooden rounds, they're like in an ornament, classic ornament shape, but you'll see a few of those later on in my video. And right here, all I'm doing is coating them with my Podge. It really takes just a couple minutes for those to dry, and I did do, as I said before, 2 coats before I moved on and allowed them to dry and did any kind of rubber stamping or watercolor painting or anything to embellish them. Did pull out of supplies from my stash as far as, stickers, like I had some poinsettia stickers, like the dimensional Jolie's ones. I used a lot of rubber stamps that I had in my stash. I did absolutely use Stays on ink. See, this is the type of ornament I was telling you about earlier with like the Luan surface. Here I'm stamping it with some of the stamps from my stash, and I'm using Stays on ink. Now the ink, immediately after you stamp, if it's still wet, you can wipe it off with like a wet wipe. Wet wipes that have alcohol in them. I don't know if that made a difference or not, but the minute it starts to dry, it will not come off, and you definitely don't want to smear it. So on this particular one, I was just testing to see if this ink would dry on this shiny surface. I did press a little bit too hard. My lines were not as fine lined as I'd like them to be with a stamp, but you'll see later on it did turn out okay. At the end of the video, I'm going to insert a little clip of all of the ornaments that we ended up making. And yeah, so for the main part for these ornaments, what we ended up doing was just stamping them with the rubber stamps. Now my children did end up doing theirs completely different, and my daughter made one you'll see later that literally looks like a kindergartner made it in kindergarten. She was over, I think, crafting with mom, but I was making her and her boyfriend sit there and craft with me because they're both have an art background. He is legitimately like a working artist. That's what he does for a living. So I am going to just show you mine though, because I cannot measure up to a working artist's work. And in this particular scene, I was, like, as I said, just adding some stamping embellishments, checking to see if the Stays on ink would work for this process, and seeing what kind of a layout I want. The good thing about using these clear stamps and an acrylic block, or in this case I used an acrylic ruler I had because it helped me line some things up and make sure things were straight, is that you can see through it and you can tell where you're stamping and what you're stamping. So that was very helpful for me. So I think right now I'm just going to put some music on and let you guys watch me struggle with the stamping. Okay, so I'm sure you guys are done listening to music for a little while, and I appreciate it if you're still hanging in there with me. At this point, I got out my watercolor pencils and decided that I was going to add a little coloration to my items. I wasn't sure how the watercolor pencils were going to work on this Luan surface. It turns out it didn't work very well. It didn't lay very well. I had to wet a watercolor paintbrush and then paint the images by swiping across the colored tip of the colored pencil instead of drawing directly onto the surface. Now the wood ones I was able to draw directly onto the surface and then use watercolor pencil to make my coloration look more like painting than a drawing, you know, like if you were just coloring with colored pencils. But I think it turned out pretty good. It took me a couple moments to figure out exactly how to do it on each surface, but in the end I think it turned out really nice. And eventually I'm going to put some additional things like stickles or crackle finish or maybe even some, you know, clear high gloss type of thing over it so that it seals it and protects it for future use. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. Again, I think, I'm basically just going to be coloring these items from now on out, so maybe speed it up a little, put a little more music on it, and then at the end, again, I'm going to put some of the pictures. I added lots of things to them. The most prevalent thing that made it very decorative was using a lot of Christmas ribbons, and I think I used some wax that was like iridescent on the one that looks like the moon, and pretty much just did watercoloring and put a lot of stickles and a lot of shine, because again, they're going to hang on a Christmas tree and they're going to have lights that bounce off them and are reflective, and they're just mainly a wooden surface that's been painted or stamped, so it's not going to be that highly reflective unless you put some kind of a sealant or some kind of glitter over it. But I think they turned out really well. Some of them I left a little more rustic than others because that was the feel that I was going with because of the items I chose to stamp. And some of them, honestly, were not turning out the way I wanted them to. And I just added a whole lot of glitter to try and zhuzh them up. It's really personal preference kind of thing. And I can't wait till you guys get to the part where my adult daughter brings in her kindergarten type projects for y'all to visit and see. She's very proud of them. I think she was messing with me a little, to tell you the truth. Anyway, if you're still interested, keep hanging in there and taking a look, and I'd like to see what you guys do. Okay, guys, prepare yourself because here comes the part where my daughter brings in her beautiful Santa Claus ornament and shows it to me. she's, I think she's messing with me. And then here she has one that she made that is actually kind of cute. She made the tree out of ribbon and then used some of my sequins from my shaker fill for ornaments on it. So I thought that was actually kind of cute. And as you see in the background, I'm working on the moon ornament that I've been talking about earlier. That did not quite turn out the way I wanted it to. I ended up putting layers and layers of glittery stuff and wax and all kinds of crazy stuff, and I'm not sure that I saved this one. This is the back of the tree ornament in the end, if you get my meaning. So at the end, check it out and tell me what you think down in the comments. See if you would even make your tree. Okay, guys, so as promised, here's a view of the finished ornaments. I think that the Christmas ribbon really enhances them a lot. So this is going to be the end of my tutorial and, well, my share, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Stay safe, take care of yourself, and be kind to each other. Bye!